Hey everybody, it's the CornishRatBeard here, bringing you another tutorial for Star Trek New Horizons. This time we're going to be focusing on only districts. I'm going to be making a few short guide videos that is going to go into more detail on certain subjects within the game. If you're new to the game though, I do recommend that you watch my full tutorial for complete beginners to get up to speed with a few things. But if you're not new and you want a few pointers, then these short mini tutorials are exactly what you're looking for. So, districts. In the early game, I don't think they're that vital if I'm honest, but they do become more vital around the mid-game and will provide a large boost to the following stats. The first one we see is housing, then we have farming, we have productivity, we have energy, research, and administration. Like I say, I wouldn't worry about the districts early game as you don't really need them, but one exception though is the housing, and I'll explain about this one first. Creating more housing for your population essentially makes more room for them to grow in population. You increase the migration rate from other civilizations, and you keep the stability rate at an acceptable level, so there's no rioting. When you see this number here, close to 0, you really need to start thinking about adding more housing to keep them all happy. This happens very early game, so keep an eye out on it, mainly for housing problems. Later on you'll need to start looking into the other districts, so let's move on to the food one. Here it is. The more food you generate, the faster your population on your planets will grow, plus it gives you the added bonus of 1 extra housing per district. If you look up here and you see that your food is in the red, then adding a few districts on your planets will really help you out. As you can see, I will be needing quite a few myself. You'll first need to make sure that you're generating enough brizene nitrate before looking to add this district. Each food district will cost you 1 brizene. So if we hover back over here, you'll see the upkeep for this district is 1 brizene. To see if you have enough, mouse over the tab over here, scroll down to the brizene, and you'll notice that I'm producing plus 41. So essentially, you will be able to make 41 extra food districts. Now, I wouldn't recommend that because that will bring you down into the negatives on your production of brizene nitrate. And if that happens, you will see some negative effects. So try to keep it into the +1. Anyway, we've got enough to make quite a few, so we can add more districts and it will help you pull yourself out of the red and into a more healthy looking food number. Okay, so a big tip before we move on for districts is to somewhat customize your planets towards those specific districts. So for example, the agricultural district. The best way to really pump up the food up here is to have most of your farms, or as many farms as you can get, onto one planet. There are certain planets that give you buffs for farming, so you want to hit those planets up and stick down as many farms as you can on those planets and then add the districts on that planet. That will really help you out. It's the same for all the rest of them. So if there's a bonus for energy, then go ahead and put down power plants and tailor your districts around that planet. So moving on to the industrial district. Now I like to customize my planets for industrial by having lots of mining networks. Mars is a good example. So Mars, I have lots of mining networks and I could have some dilithium buildings down there, and maybe I'm running low on one of these. If I was, I'd come to somewhere like Mars and I would increase the industrial districts, and it would really help out the productivity of my minerals or my dilithium or whatever else I may have. Commercial district is essentially your energy. So again, it costs 1 deuterium to have one of these districts put down, and you would want to be tailoring your planet towards energy, so your power stations. Here I have 2 fusion reactors and 1 district. So that's going to boost the more power stations you have, and the more districts you have, the more energy that you're going to produce. So again, if I'm low here on my energy credits, I'd just whack down a few power stations on one planet and a couple of districts on the one planet, and it would really boost out my gains for energy. Again, look out for these buffs here, because sometimes you can find a buff which would increase the energy. So again, that's the planet that you might want to tailor your power stations to. So the educational district is more of the same thing. The more educational buildings, research centers, and all the rest of it you have on one planet, coupled with education districts, the more percentage of research that you're going to be gaining from that one planet, which means overall faster technologies will be researched. Administrative districts. So this costs you 1 luxury, just like the education district does. Again, if you pop up here, click down, you can see how many luxuries we have. I'm making 22 at the moment, so we essentially, again, we can have 22 extra districts, but we'd have to share that number between education and administrative. Now, what this district does for you, it will increase the crew production. So up here, we actually have to make trained officers. We have to train them to be able to fly our ships. So the more districts we have, we do also get administrative buildings, so that will only add to the production. It also does add to the empire sprawl, so the more districts we have, I believe overall, the better our empire sprawl will be. Okay, so that just about covers the basics for the districts, but one other thing I want to point out to you guys is the number of districts that each planet can hold. As you can see on Earth, there is a maximum districts of 22, and it looks like there's 14 left here. So if we add them all up, it's going to come to 22. Each time we click on one and build it, it will go down to 13. So there is a maximum you can do on each planet, and it generally depends on the size. So Mars, for example, doesn't have as many because it's not as big a planet, and so on. Some of them you hardly get any districts, some of them you get loads of districts. So again, tailor to your needs, to what you need the most on planet size. So bottom line for districts is tailor them accordingly. Make sure that you've got plenty of districts if you plan on making a huge energy planet or a farm planet. Just make sure you've got plenty of districts. Also, you want to keep an eye on how much upkeep these districts cost, and pop over here to just keep an eye on what you've got left. You don't want to be going into the minuses, and yeah, you'll be all right. So I hope that little guide helped. Give it a like if it did, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. This is CornishRatBeard here, happy to help. Take care, and bye bye for now.